At the turn of the century, a new wave of franchises were taking theaters by storm. Studios were offering everything from gritty reboots to adaptations of novels.
Gryffindor!
From comic books to even theme park rides. But out there, among the hobbits and old telepathic men, was a franchise that was not like the others.
Really?
With no pre-existing legacy or built-in fan base, the Fast and the Furious had become an accidental franchise, accidentally pulling away from the competition with staggering box office figures. For 4 movies, and counting, the Fast series had stumbled its way from page to screen. From LA to Miami to Tokyo, drifting conceptually and literally. There's a lot of drifting. But as the Fast and the Furious geared up for yet another film, the series was free to write its own future. Bigger stories.
Bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
Bigger stunts. Bigger stars.
By bringing everyone back, all the characters back.
Bigger plot twists.
Oh shit, we're screwed.
Bigger budgets and bigger problems.
Was in that top tier of as much as anyone was willing to spend on a film.
This big boy stuff!
Those stunt drivers, you know, they really risk their lives doing this stuff.
This is the story of Fast 5. A movie that would drift further from reality than ever. And where it lands will make or break the franchise.
How much story can you build down there in the street? I said, I'm not saying you couldn't, but you know, they took it up a few notches.
3, 2, 1, go!
With 4 films under its belt, the Fast and Furious franchise had been built on a simple premise.
Fast cars, fast driving.
And realistic stunts.
But as each successive film raised the bar for heart-stopping action, it was obvious that
These people are now capable of some pretty incredible things,
and are basically on their way to
becoming borderline superheroes.
the stunt-fueled 4th installment of the franchise had proved that audiences loved the thrill ride, earning $360 million worldwide, signaling to Universal that,
Well, you know there's gonna be another one.
and second of all, you could forget the old mandate of,
It's real stuff. Real, 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 real.
and hello to the new mandate of,
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
not only in the size of the stunts, but in the number of movies.
We're not just looking at this as a movie-by-movie basis.
Meaning not only would there be a 5th movie, but a 6th one as well.
Like, we're looking at the bigger plan and the grand scheme of things.
And most importantly, the franchise would be led by the talent that got them there.
Vin's been leading this franchise for multiple movies. Chris Morgan is on his 3rd movie, writing. Justin Lin's on his 3rd movie directing.
So along with producer Neil Moritz,
Now you have kind of a whole brain trust with their own ideas to be used or considered instead of just one person at the top making all the calls.
so all the ingredients were in place to make Fast 5, the biggest and baddest Fast and Furious movie to date. But to do that, Justin Lin was gonna have to figure out how to one-up his last film.
We've decided to make a heist movie, really.
We're talking about breaking into a police station.
The film picks up where 4 left off, with Brian and Mia rescuing Dom from a life in prison.
But despite every eye in the country looking for them, where Toretto and O'Connor are now is anyone's guess.
From there, they go on the lam in Brazil, where they need to score
Do one last job.
to set themselves up for life.
That's right.
But the drama quickly escalates when they become entangled with a local drug kingpin.
You know whose house this is?
But unlike previous films, one key scene was notably absent.
I remember reading the script when it comes to that point where Dom and Brian have to go off to get cars for the team.
Let's go get some cars.
I'm like, okay, okay, this is gonna be the big race sequence that all the other Fast movies had.
Car for car.
And where previous films would have shown the race, writer Chris Morgan elected a more economical choice, looking to one of the greatest heist movies of all time for inspiration.
They could surrender to us, but I wouldn't count on that.
Chris Morgan talked about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid being his inspiration in crafting the story.
And Chris really drew inspiration from two scenes in particular. The legendary train heist sequence, but with cars. As well as the infamous cliff getaway jump, also updated to feature cars. Because they're basically
borderline superheroes.
But the real showstopper would be the 20-minute climax, featuring a 5-ton bank vault being pulled through the streets of Rio.
It's completely over the top.
Suddenly, a crew known for shooting down and dirty street racing were tasked with making a Bond-level action movie.
As the first read-through, you know, you read all this like, oh, how are we going to do this? This is crazy. It's an absolute mountain of action. And you're like, how is this even going to work?
With a budget of over $120 million, Universal was determined to make it work.
Universal, the studio, obviously felt this was gonna work no matter what, and they were willing to push all their chips into the table that this was the franchise that was gonna sustain them as a studio.
Which was 30% more than Fast 4, and nearly triple the budget of Fast 1.
This was in that top tier of as much as anyone was willing to spend on a film.
So to hedge their bets, the Brain Trust decided to make it a star-studded event and bring back as many fan favorites as possible.
It was the Avengers before there was an Avengers.
You want Giselle from Fast 4?
We're bringing in Giselle from Fast 4.
You want Han from Fast 3?
Wait a minute, he's dead. He died in 3.
But what if 3 wasn't actually 3?
The way it was handled in the 4th movie was the tanker sequence takes place before Tokyo Drift. The rest of the movie takes place after. Now, we would learn when Fast 5 happened that, oh no, the rest of the movie also took place before Tokyo Drift.
Meaning in this timeline, Tokyo Drift hasn't happened yet.
Well, you're here now.
And Han is still alive.
He's back, but he hasn't died yet.
The decision to bring back Han was the first of many surprise returns, including
Matt Scholze's Vince character from the first one.
Look who showed up.
Bring in Ludacris's Tej's character from Too Fast, Too Furious.
All right, fire him up.
But if you're wondering what a bunch of bank robbers need a mechanic for, well, the Brain Trust came up with a solution.
Quite the evolution for that character from when we first met him.
A Class 3 electronic lock with a surefire Griffin retumbler and a biometric palm scanner.
And he must have sold the garage and started taking, classes at ITT Tech.
I had a life before you knew me, O'Connor. Let's just leave it at that, all right?
But one fan favorite was having a hard time coming back.
Tyrese has talked about how it was a fight to get back. It's one thing to bring in, oh, let's get Ludacris back. Let's get Sung Kang back. Let's get Gal back. They were all supporting their movies, right? Where Tyrese, he was essentially co-lead of Too Fast.
It's like singing in a group with someone that replaced you. It's like a little uncomfortable of a thought.
So if you're Vin, you're like, well, I'm back now. Are you gonna walk in thinking like, oh, you should be a co-lead of Fast 5?
If you know what I know about Vin, he's every bit of an alpha. He is the star of the Fast and the Furious.
Thankfully, Tyrese had a friend in his corner.
Tyrese really credits Paul for continuing to push to bring him back.
And at Paul's insistence, producers were able to announce,
we're bringing Tyrese and Roman back.
Man, Tyrese, I want to welcome all of y'all to the set of Fast and the Furious 5.
And Tyrese said pretty quickly once he got around Vin and they clearly vibed and got on the same page.
It was my first time ever working with Vin.
Heard about you.
Everything about what I brought to the table has nothing to do with the real estate of Vin Diesel.
With all these fan favorites back, it was proving to be one hell of a family reunion.
Salute me, familia. Salute.
Including two newcomers. One on screen,
Officer Neves,
played by Elsa Pataki, and one off.
The story also includes the fact that Mia announces to Brian and to Dom that she's
Pregnant.
And it just really drives home the idea of family's been important before, but family is now going to be the calling card of this franchise and of these characters.
But they weren't done world building there.
Now that Brian and Dom were on a team, they needed a new antagonist.
Up until this point, the Fast films relied on the old archetype of a tightly wound lawman with a penchant for complaining and using only last names.
He's giving me attitude? Doesn't speak very well for police FBI relations, Tanner.
But Chris Morgan wrote a new law enforcement character, one that could go mano a mano with Dom.
This Hobbs character's coming down to hunt Dom and Brian and the rest of these guys. So it's like, oh, we have a little bit of a fugitive element to this.
What I want out of each and every one of you is a hard target search.
And since it was inspired by him, the role was
offered to Tommy Lee Jones.
But before the part was cast, Vin Diesel took it upon himself to do a little market research.
He put out, I believe it was like a call, like, who would you want to see in a Fast movie? And someone commented, The Rock. And that was really where, the gears started going.
So make sure you got your underwear on.
The Rock obviously was a very famous person at this point, but he wasn't a movie star. Like, he had led some movies, but he hadn't really found that level of success yet.
Basically, The Rock was making movies, but hadn't quite yet quit his kitchen day job.
Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Hard to even know who benefited more from The Rock being cast in this movie, The Fast and Furious or The Rock himself, because it just had that big an impact on his career and then also the franchise.
Meanwhile, writer Chris Morgan took advantage of his casting to write an epic fight scene, which had many in the crew guessing who would actually win in a fight.
It's not a fair fight.
I don't know that Vin Diesel can beat up The Rock, but Dominic Toretto can beat up Hobbs.
With fans eagerly anticipating a showdown, rumors began to swirl.
They were both possibly, maybe, supposedly rumored to be contractually not allowed to lose that fight.
But fans would have to wait till the premiere to find out.
So automatically, the excitement level is building.
The Fast and the Furious films weren't just a hit in America. Thanks to a diverse cast and the international appeal of cars, The Fast and the Furious was on its way to becoming a global franchise. So for Fast 5, the Brain Trust decided
they're gonna go to Brazil.
Well, that's partially true, because in fact, filming began in the summer of 2010 in 4 separate locations at once. The first unit in Atlanta, filming interiors with the main cast. A second unit, shooting stunts in Puerto Rico. A third unit in Arizona, filming the train heist. All of which were doubling for this place, Brazil, which also had a film unit scouting locations by this guy.
My name is Fernando Cerzedelo. I was the Brazil line producer.
Shooting internationally is customary to hire a producer that can fix any uniquely local problems, of which Fernando had plenty. For starters,
deal with the politicians and the law enforcement.
And when the main cast arrived, the crew was able to shoot a few key scenes in iconic locations. From the Santos Dumont building in the heart of Rio to the architectural marvel of this building, which is a mouthful for even the locals, who simply call it
Snake Building.
But aside from shooting some of Rio's most iconic buildings, he also chose to shoot in
a not very safe neighborhood.
But producers weren't too worried. After all, locals were ecstatic about seeing one actor in particular. Brazil had no shortage of Vin Diesel fans.
People got crazy about him.
And in a twist, Vin Diesel was a fan of one of his fans. This guy.
Rodrigo Minotauro.
Vin Diesel was a huge MMA fan, and Minotauro was a legend.
I introduced them.
And the two really hit it off. But there was one little problem. The favelas aren't the kind of place you want to stay in longer than you have to. And these two...
They kept talking inside the trailer after the shooting for a long time.
And while Minotauro and Vin were laughing it up, Fernando was growing nervous.
And it's starting to get night and could be dangerous.
But finally, the chief of police weighed in.
He was pushing me to stop the conversation.
And with that, the two men said their goodbyes, and so did the production.
Because of money, they shot most of the part in Puerto Rico.
That's right. These stand-ins for favelas are actually San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico was at a time where we could get a major thoroughfare shut down completely whereas in Rio, you could only shut down small sections at a time.
To truly sell the illusion, Fernando helped the art department fill 2 shipping containers with everything from signs to phone books to send to Puerto Rico.
We sent a lot of stuff to Puerto Rico.
All of it to make moments like this chase scene appear like it was happening in the favelas of Brazil.
People that are from Rio notice that sometimes it's not real. Otherwise, it's perfect.
Meanwhile, the second unit was hard at work, prepping the Fast and Furious's most ambitious scene to date.
¿Qué está acontecendo? Estão levando o cofre. O quê? O cofre!
Whoever thought about pulling that vault out of a bank was genius.
The concept was simple, a traditional heist chase. But instead of a bag of loot, the getaway car was towing an actual vault through the city. While the concept looked spectacular on the page, the crew had a very different reaction.
I was imagining it from reading the script, and I was like, I have no idea if this is gonna work.
It'd be a lot easier to use CGI, but Justin wanted to shoot it with a real vault.
I remember reading the sequence and thinking, he's out of his effing mind. Are you crazy? This is insane. This is never gonna work.
Here's how we're gonna do it.
Luckily, they hired a guy whose very job was to figure it out.
My name is Spiro Rosados. I am the second unit director.
Which was a fancy way of saying
the action director. I get to do the fun stuff.
That's the fun stuff, all right.
When there's a movie like Fast, there's too much action for the director to shoot. So the second unit director, they go out and they shoot the action.
Spiro was a natural choice for second unit director, as filming stunts had been a lifelong passion ever since he saw one impressive film.
3.5 times.
Clearly the film made an impact, and that day forward,
I kept going around saying I'm Shaft.
Damn right.
Wait, what?
You know, that was it. I thought I was Shaft, and I kept practicing doing things that Shaft would do, and jumping off of roofs, chasing bad guys.
And that's when Spiro knew what he wanted to be when he grew up.
And so I started doing stunts.
Working on everything from Midnight Run to Back to the Future.
And then started second year directing at a young age. I was very lucky.
And by the time the brain trust at Fast 5 called, Spiro had directed the action in over 50 films.
And what I love about Justin Lin is he goes, of all the people I interviewed, you get the camera closer to the action than anybody else I know.
With Justin's approval, Spiro was signed on as second unit director. But it wouldn't be all on him. He'd also have a little help from this guy.
Spiro and I have been together for 40 years, and we kind of have the same team with us the whole time.
No matter which side of the camera you were on, The Fast and the Furious was about family.
You trust the person next to you, you know exactly what they're gonna do, and when I design the action, I know what each and every person can do the best.
If their team had a rival, it was the visual effects group. Because if they couldn't pull off a stunt, it'd be taken away from them and given to a digital artist.
When we were doing the safe, I remember when we first started testing it, and the test didn't go well. The producer came up to us and goes, you know what, we're just gonna do it visual effects. And I said, no. And he goes, nope, we're gonna do it. And I said, nope, we're not. Give me one more shot at it.
Fearing that their big stunt would be given to the visual effects team, second unit director Spiro Rosados pleaded with producers.
Give me one more shot at it. Let us try one more test. Let us do it, I'm telling you.
But producers wouldn't listen.
You have to do something now.
That is, until director Justin Lin stepped in.
And Justin said, nope, let him do it. And we did, and the next test worked great. And after that, everything started to just gel together.
We're gonna crash the vault through that bus stop behind you over there.
Having pulled the safe from the wall, the heroes traversed the city of Rio, destroying everything in their way. But what seemed like wanton destruction was actually a meticulously choreographed ballet.
In any other big action movie, the director, okay, what's spectacular? Send the vault through the bank. People love it, they'll clap, you know, great. Not Justin. He says, why does it go through the bank? And I'm like, okay, I never really thought about it, but let's talk about it, you know?
And so they devised a reason.
Cops making the spikes.
Which not only gave the police more character, but also...
He created more tension. He created a reason and a story.
Together, the two planned for everything.
We wanted to be able to have major destruction. We wanted to also, though, be able to control it.
But you just can't steer a 9,000-pound vault.
This is never gonna work.
Unless there was a way to steer a 9,000-pound vault.
we designed a pickup truck, and think of a pickup truck, and you saw the back of the pickup truck off. So then we put that inside the vault. So we made a steerable vault.
Now the only problem with the vault on wheels was someone had to drive it, and Puerto Rico wasn't exactly known for their sweater weather.
His name is Henry Kinsey, one of the greatest drivers of all time. To this day, he still complains to me about how hot it got in there.
I said, Henry can't stay in this vault at this kind of temperature. So we got dry ice. And we put dry ice all over the inside of the dash and all over the floorboards.
Which kind of worked, until they discovered.
Dry ice sucks oxygen out.
Meaning?
He couldn't breathe.
But Jack had come too far to give the scene away to the digital effects team. He had one last Hail Mary.
We had to put him in a NASCAR racing helmet that was enclosed with a tube coming out of the top going to the outside air of, the vault. So now we got to a point where we could cool him off and he could breathe.
As good as CGI can be, there's no substitute for the real thing, which was only possible because they were filming in Puerto Rico.
They pretty much gave us what we wanted in their main street with buildings, helicopters coming down, vault destroying cars that are parked, going on the sidewalk.
It's just the carnage.
We had closed a bridge for a few weeks. That was a big deal.
Brazil, they wouldn't let us do any of that.
As the footage started to come in, it was clear they had something special.
The dailies started coming in, and I think that was the beginning of Spiros being involved in the film. I was just like, I love this guy.
Spiro came into Fast 5 hot, instantly making his mark on the franchise.
Suddenly, these cars, they weren't just being run into, they were conjoining and mating in obscene ways. And for a guy who's into smashing metal and what that sounds like on film, it was a dream come true.
But even with 2 units shooting, a film of this scale needed more. So they dispatched
the 3rd unit
to the Arizona desert.
Doing the opening train sequence.
Cars are all on the train, and then they're stealing all the cars off the train.
This time it was Arizona's turn to stand in for Brazil. To say the scene was a logistical challenge would be an understatement.
You have these cars that kind of come out of nowhere, and they're gonna ride up to the train, and then you're gonna offload other cars. Yeah, okay, let's see how they shoot it.
I went out there and looked at it, and we found a spur line coming off to the side.
A spur line is a smaller secondary track that takes the train off the main line, much like an off-ramp.
So there was like 10 miles of track left. Railroad came in and tuned up the track a little bit for us, so we were able to just run back and forth all day long and have it all to ourselves.
With the track in place, production was full steam ahead.
I have Spiro Rosatos was going to direct that.
But there was just one complication.
I was in another country.
With Justin in Atlanta and Spiro in Puerto Rico, someone else was gonna have to take the reins of this stunt.
They hired Alexander Witt, who was the second unit on all the Bond movies, and he was, a really elite second unit director, just to do that sequence.
Although the team was new, they had Justin's meticulous storyboards.
We went by the storyboards, and then we would,
Okay, maybe they weren't that meticulous.
We'd call them, what does Justin want to do? That whole sequence, we were about 3 weeks on that. It was pretty complicated. There was a lot of stuff.
But despite all the preparation, sometimes things don't go as planned.
The shot was going to be the big truck hits on the train and then comes along parallel to the train as it's dragged along. But instead, it hit on the train and lodged in there.
It was a gross miscalculation.
I think they almost tipped the train over. I don't think it was supposed to happen.
It was not.
It wasn't supposed to lift the car off the tracks.
The damage was irreversible, and it was looking like a $25 million mistake.
And they were going, oh shit, we're screwed.
As the crew debated whether to leave the car lodged in there or take it out.
I says, hold it, guys, don't do anything. They're saying, well, you better take this thing out, what are we gonna do? I says, take that film there, send somebody to haul ass and email it to them in Atlanta.
Meanwhile, production halted as they anxiously awaited word from Justin and the producers. With the first unit in Atlanta filming the cast, and the second unit filming stunts in Puerto Rico, the third production unit of Fast 5 was stuck in the Arizona desert with a major headache. The $25 million train stunt had gone wrong, and the crew was panicking. Meanwhile, production was paused as they awaited word from producers in Atlanta.
And the word came back, oh yeah, perfect. Just continue from there. So that's what we did.
Super fun scene to have a car run into a train while it's moving.
Once again, it was the spirit of improvisation leaving its mark on the franchise.
That was one of those happy accidents.
But as they wrapped the 3 weeks out in the desert, Matt couldn't help but reflect.
That was one of those moments of true relief.
Meanwhile, in Atlanta, one new character was about to make his introduction felt.
You want to talk about all-time introductions?
You can go no bigger, both figuratively and literally, than bringing in The Rock.
Him getting off that plane in Brazil. I've never seen a human sweat more than The Rock does in this movie.
We find him, we take him as a team, and we bring him back.
But if he was intimidating on screen, off screen, he was a sweetheart.
He came in and introduced himself to everyone.
So, I want to feel the dream right there.
He knew certain people's names already. He took the time to be prepped. That meant a lot to people.
The Rock was the definition of a game changer, both off and on screen.
Then, you know, when he just says,
stay the fuck out of my way.
And like, that's just like, okay, like we're going. Like, this is what they're doing with this character.
But not all his lines would be super tough.
Good news, bad news. You know I like my dessert first.
His character had been written in such a way that he has cheesy lines.
Give me the damn veggies.
Dwayne Johnson was able to deliver them in such a way that you were like, oh my God, that's so cheesy, but okay, I'm in.
I thought so.
Finally, the moment that everyone was waiting for was here.
You're going down, Toretto.
I'm right here.
That fight, you know, was shot on stage in Atlanta, and it went on forever. And I was like, oh my God.
It was a spectacle, and the crew had a front row seat, watching these two titans go blow for blow.
It was so visceral.
As filming continued, it became apparent it was more than just a choreographed fight scene, as rumors began to spread that both men didn't particularly like each other.
But it was never really expressed. It was more of the type of game that some actors will play. It's like, oh, well, if he's going to be late, then I'm going to be late. Or if he's going to do this, then I'm going to do that.
It was two alphas battling for top billing.
That was Justin's take on, we never got to see prime Stallone versus prime Schwarzenegger. But this is kind of as close as we can come.
Two megastars delivered a performance for the ages, the way only they could.
Say Tommy Lee Jones was cast in the role of Hobbs, like I can't imagine we would have gotten a brutal, you know, battle like we do in this movie. Well, I don't know that he would have been throwing it down in the same way that The Rock was.
I feel overmatched.
But as for who won the fight, luckily, writer Chris Morgan found a nice middle ground.
Vin's kind of on top of The Rock at the end of that one, but then ends up kind of just giving himself up.
Leaving just enough doubt for audiences to demand a rematch. Filming had wrapped. While pencil pushers hashed out the rematch, editing on Fast 5 began, and with it, no shortage of new problems. The myriad of intricate stunts, a boatload of improvised dialogue.
You got a line?
And a slew of brand new characters. No one knew for sure if Justin Lin's gamble would work until they got into the editing bay.
I remember we were so excited when the first day's dailies came in.
Fast 5 was over the top, and The Rock gave an over-the-top performance.
Just here to bring in two assholes whose names hit my desk.
But was it too much?
After Vince has died and the team is in their hideout and you've totally forgotten that The Rock is in the scene, and then he says,
I'll ride with you, Toretto.
That moment, it gave me chills when I was putting it together even. Like I remember feeling at that point, now I really know, we got something.
It was an energy that guy brought. We all knew, like this is gonna work, like gangbusters.
In fact, the only real problem was that all the improvisation had left them with too many options.
That's just stupid. You're supposed to pay me for rewriting on top of paying me to act in the movie. But you know what I want? I just want this movie to be great. And that shit you got me saying is corny as hell. I don't believe it. I don't think I would ever say that, do that, react that way, respond that way. So we got to get rid of all of that.
And Justin agreed.
Justin really understood, like, I've got these guys who have this great sense of camaraderie and really good sense of humor, like, let me utilize that.
And ultimately, I tend to work my way into making things better.
When you gonna give Martin Luther King his car back? As soon as you give Rick James his jacket back.
But just as things were starting to click, Universal threw a wrench in their plans and once again moved up the release date from July to April to compete with Marvel's new movie. Not only was the post department knee-deep in work, but
it was like we lost time as well.
Once again, it was up to the Fast and the Furious to save Universal's summer slate. With Universal moving up the release date of Fast 5, post-production had to kick things into high gear. Thankfully, they had a large staff of editors ready to handle the challenge. Despite time constraints, Justin prioritized collaboration, arranging screening days, allowing the editors an overview of the evolving cut.
And then when you're done watching the whole movie, you're having conversations about that as well before you break off again and work on your specific sequences.
And there were a lot of sequences.
I cut the foot chase through the favelas. Chris Wagner did the first pass, and then I kind of took it over when he got thrown onto something else.
Alicia, get on the ground.
The ambush, where Hobbs' team is killed. Oh, and the street race, which is particularly challenging because all those cars are the same.
The 2011 Dodge Charger, to be exact, thanks to a product placement deal with Universal.
Not this time, dog! in direct opposition to the chase in the fourth movie, where they're all colorful and different. We've got 4 Dodge Chargers that look exactly the same, and we have to figure out a way to make the audience understand who's in which car.
Don't make it too easy for me, boys.
Production's oversight quickly turned into post-production's problem.
You know, those problems are not on the minds of the people who are writing or casting the cars sometimes, but we have to solve them in sound.
On a truncated schedule, fixing it in post wasn't an indulgence the post team could afford. But sound designer Peter Brown had the idea to give each car its own unique sound.
You know, Vin's car had a supercharger in it. Paul's car had higher horsepower. The other folks had more standard stock Chargers.
If that tire squeal sounded excessive, you'd be right.
Whenever a character turns a steering wheel, there's a tire squeal. As though any turn results in a squeal. But it really does help make those sequences exciting.
For a film that relied so heavily on sound, when it came time for the majestic vault, sound designer Peter Brown had a hard time finding a cue that did it justice.
Short of actually getting a safe and dragging it around, we tried a ton of stuff. We used a washing machine, we got an old stove, we got a refrigerator. Kind of at a loss.
The situation was getting dire. Eventually, Christmas rolled around and Peter still hadn't found the right sound.
I'm home to Christmas, I'm from Rochester, New York, and I'd always remembered that the snowplows in the morning had a particular sound. And that provided the big resonant sound of a safe going down the streets.
It was a Christmas miracle. But with so much to do in such little time, they needed more hands, and assistant editor Lee got a big promotion.
I was only an additional editor, and so I was still doing my assistant editing.
She was promoted and kept her old job. Not bad. But better than 2 jobs, she had the editor's support.
But Chris and Fred and Kelly were all very supportive of giving scenes.
But what scene would she get to work on? An action-packed car chase? Or perhaps an explosive fight scene?
I got a lot of the emotional scenes on that one.
Hey, Dom, what do you remember about your father?
My father.
One of the more bolder decisions in 5 was the decision to have Dom and Brian talk about their fathers.
He used to have a barbecue every Sunday after church for anybody in the neighborhood.
that moment sticks. Like you now are connected both with the story point of Mia being pregnant, but you have more of a sense of Dom and Brian's background. So that at the end of that crazy bank sequence,
There's too many of them. Hey, there's too many of them. We're not gonna make it.
when Dom cuts Brian loose and says, "You're a father now,"
You're a father now, Brian.
No, I'm not leaving you. Now you stick with the plan.
It was always the plan.
that sticks and that lands. And the movie should be appreciated for that.
It would prove to be a career-making scene for Lee, while offering the edit team some much-needed relief.
Can't keep running, Dom.
Despite the intensity of the schedule, Justin made it a point to keep spirits high.
There are definitely some moments where we've had just a blast. Having cupcake wars through visual effects reviews.
Justin decided, we can put cupcakes on petty cash? Well, let's see who has the best cupcakes in LA.
We started just getting cupcakes all the time. It was so outrageous at one point. We were like, we can't do it anymore. There's so many cupcakes.
With the cupcake wars behind them, the team was able to finish Fast 5 in time for Universal to beat Thor to theaters and kick off the summer movie season. But rather than celebrate, the team grew anxious over studio feedback, as Fast 5 was different from its predecessors. Perhaps too different.
There's always a bit of nervousness before a preview.
So, yeah, we did a test screening.
A test audience of 23 random people were chosen to see a nearly finished cut of Fast 5. A good screening would convince Universal that the genre change for the series was worth it. A bad screening might mean expensive reshoots to make it look more like the original. Everything was hanging in the balance. But as the movie kicked off, the post team realized there was a problem.
I have very clear recollection of the sub channel in the theater was not working. So it was screamingly loud.
Before an action film that depended on a visceral experience, director Justin Lin wanted it even louder.
Justin kept turning to me and saying, make it louder.
Not wanting to disappoint, Fred Raskin turned it up.
I was aware that it was loud. I don't think I was anywhere near aware of how loud it actually was. And it wasn't until the screening ended that, like, our mixer came to me and was like, do you know how loud you were playing that?
Fearing they had literally blown it with the audience, they nervously awaited feedback from the post-screening Q&A.
Somebody mentions, yeah, there's really no car races in the movie. And that's the point where I'm like, uh-oh, now we're gonna pay the price. We violated this sacred trust with the audience. Where is the big car race in Fast and Furious?
After a particularly loud test screening of Fast 5, everything was resting on the opinion of 23 random audience members.
And at some point, somebody mentions, yeah, there's really no car races.
You say what?
And that's the point where I'm like, uh-oh.
There was no drifting past the changes Fast 5 made to the series.
We've gone from streetcar racers to we're a heist movie.
And the audience had noticed the difference.
So now the moderator says, okay, how would you rate the action in this movie?
Everything rested on their answers.
22 raised their hands at the highest category.
It was a huge sigh of relief. But what about the one dissenter?
The sole remaining person raised their hand at the next highest category.
It was a tremendous win.
And we came out of that screening going, this is going to be much bigger than any of the Fast and Furious movies.
The screening was so successful, Universal only had one note.
Is there anything else you want to do, Justin?
To which Justin replied,
I'm down.
That was when they gave him a bag of cash to do his opening for the film that he always wanted to do. There just wasn't the money for it.
At the time, the opening of the film had been constructed from shots from the end of Fast 4, cross-cut with news footage detailing Dom's escape.
Every eye in the country looking for them. Federal and local agencies have joined forces in the search for Dominic Toretto.
But now, with practically a blank check from the studio, Justin Lin decided to take a victory lap and naturally added another stunt. Even though not everyone was on board.
Definitely one of those moments when I was just like, really? The bus flips over the front of a car and tumbles and nobody's hurt and Dom gets away?
Which was a valid point.
And then you see it in the film, you're just like, yeah, right on. That's exactly how you do it.
But Universal wasn't ready to roll credits just yet.
They're catching on to like the teaser situation that another studio had been doing.
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
And, you know, like, we're gonna make another one. We may not know what it's all gonna be about, but let's plant the seed now.
And it also provided the chance to bring back another familiar face.
We had the fun of bringing Eva Mendes back, and the whole Letty reveal felt a little disrespectful to what we'd done in the fourth movie, and also kind of exciting.
With additional filming complete, the only thing Fast 5 needed to kick off the summer box office was a PG-13 rating. Easy peasy.
That's going to take a while.
Because we had to go back and make it less violent.
Including some big changes.
They said, no, there's way too much automatic weapon fire. So in the 11th hour, it had to be all recut to single shots.
And some real hair-splitting changes.
There's a scene when The Rock, like, grabs a guy in the favela chase, he breaks his neck. So we had this nice, disgusting crunch in there, and they're like, no, that's too much. Eventually, if you listen to it, it's just, it sounds like it's a cloth whoosh.
That was a big disappointment. The MPAA had their way with us there.
After a series of chiropractic adjustments, Fast 5 got a thumbs up from the ratings board, which meant boarding tickets for the cast, because
it was Hollywood premiere. It just happened to be in Brazil.
For the fans, Fast 5 live from the red carpet.
Everybody happy to be back in Rio.
Universal was making it clear the Fast and the Furious had shed its humble beginnings and had now arrived as an international franchise.
It was a huge premiere, and the crowd was so amazing.
We had to roll Fast and Furious style.
And the Brain Trust had every reason to celebrate. They had accomplished the impossible, reinventing the franchise in the fifth film.
I love the movie. It is definitely my favorite of the three that I worked on.
I'm definitely very proud of all of these films.
Yeah, this is where the heist fun of the franchise kicks in.
It established the template for what the franchise would become.
I'll see you soon.
Now you won't.
Fast 5 not only managed to kick off the summer box office, it pulled in $86 million on its opening weekend, nearly $18 million more than Thor's debut.
I now take from you your power. It absolutely blows up at the box office.
And over the course of the year, goes on to make over $620 million worldwide, nearly 6 times the amount Universal invested.
A massive, roaring success, the likes of which only a Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter, movies of that ilk have ever been able to say.
That's when they really decided, okay, we might have a franchise here, which is a weird thing to say after already having 4 films.
Universal had just one question for the man who took down Marvel.
What's going to be the next one?